Hello friends, this is Tanya for Spellbinders, and today I am playing with the Santa Lane kit. This is a large kit featuring Christmas products that you can make so many cards with. This is a quick little peek at what's in the box. We've got this die set that creates a Santa, a sleigh, a pile of gifts, and a cute little snowman. There's also some of the boring things. We have the tape, double-sided tape, some foam adhesive, and we have two sizes of card bases. We have 12 5x7 card bases and 13 A2 size card bases. We also have this pack of coordinating cardstock. There are 18 sheets of cardstock here. We've got a light green, a light blue, a royal blue, a dark deep green, a medium red, a maroon or dark red. We've got an orange. We've got a pale pink, a medium pink, brown, black, a couple sheets of white, and two sheets each of the gold and the silver mirror cardstock. So pretty. And these all coordinate with, of course, the ephemera and the cards or the pattern paper. This pattern paper pack has several different, I'm sorry, I didn't look at how many there are, but I'm showing you all of the cardstock, pattern paper in this kit. So pretty. It's so inspiring just to look at the pattern paper. Some are foiled, some have a large pattern, some are small patterns, some are more solid. Here we've got a red with white polka dots. Here we've got a black gingham and so many different styles. Several of them coordinate with each other. Love that green wood grain. And there's two scripty ones. Here is the coordinating stamp set. Lots of great sentiments, a cute deer, and a few other elements. We've got these pretty embellishments and some gold sequins. We also have some red puffy foam stickers and these gorgeous gold snowflake puffy stickers, some chipboard stickers, and then these 3D stickers. They are printed on like acetate, and there's several layers to each of these image groupings. We also have some colored puffy stickers to go with these. And then we have two packs of ephemera. One that is primarily sentiments and one that's primarily images. And I've laid all of them out for you here. Lots of great sentiments, lots of elements that'll make great tags, some really pretty sentiments. And there is an additional pack of florals that coordinate with this that you can purchase. They also have some stickers and some other things that you can buy in addition to the kit. We're going to get right into the cards here. I took a white background with all kinds of branches and berries, and it is 6x6 cardstock, pattern paper. So I took a piece of 5x7 cardstock and I layer the pieces of pattern paper onto this, and we're going to cover that seam a little later. I'm going to trim these off so that it fits on my panel, and that was just one sheet of 6x6 pattern paper. I trimmed off, maybe it was a 4.5 by 6.5. Anyway, I trimmed it off and put the excess on the bottom. Next, we're going to use the Argyle Socks embossing folder. I love the embossing folders that have been coming from Spellbinders lately because they're such a large style. Next, we're taking, I think you can still get this die set somewhere. I'll have it linked in the description box below. It's Scalloped Facade Frame, I think is what it's called, from the Make a Scene collection. And I used that just to get the size of layering for the 5x7 that I wanted. Now you could cut this down. I think it's about 3.5 by 5.5 inches. And that was after I embossed that white cardstock with the Argyle Sock embossing folder. I am going to add a layer of black cardstock behind this. It's just not quite, it's like 3/8 of an inch larger. And here is where we're going to cover that seam. I have this washi tape in my stash. It's I think it's probably about 1/4 inch or 3/5 of an, excuse me, yeah, 3/8 of an inch wide washi that is a champagne gold glitter. This happened to come from a Tim Holtz collection. However, search your stash. Maybe you have something else that would look good in this way. This is just one way of covering a seam when you're extending your 6x6 pattern paper to fit on a 5x7 card. Now we're going to apply this Argyle sock panel to the front of our card. And this is going to be the base for our ephemera. I took this large sentiment piece and centered that on our panel, and I did add some extra layers of cardstock on all of these pieces to give them a little extra stability, a little extra dimension. And I did have to add several layers or more than one layer to different areas of the different images. This one just got one. This cute little tree got a little extra layer on the left-hand side of it, and the door got a little bit on the right-hand side of it. We're just going to square these up on our card front. I love the welcoming image this gives, or feel this gives, and we're adding that little Merry Christmas banner from the ephemera kit also right between and kind of joining those images together. Next, I'm taking these gorgeous gold puffy stickers. Now, there is another Christmas collection. I think it's, I really don't remember it, winter something, that has some gold puffy alphabet stickers. And those are gorgeous too. I am in love with this gold puffy stuff. We've had them in a few kits and I really am drawn to them. I will say that they do need a little extra adhesive behind them to make them stick well to your card front. So I just use a little bit of Barely Art Precision Glue to add a little extra adhesive behind them. Just adding my last couple to the front of this card. And then we need to move on to the inside. I'm going to take a sentiment from the stamp set, and I'm using my Misty Corners alignment tools to help get them centered and straight in the inside of my card. I have a stamp positioning tool here that is open on two sides, which enables me to put larger items into it and still get things and still be able to stamp things more than once, which I really, really enjoy. I took the 2 snowflakes from the stamp set and I'm stamping those in Delicata Golden Glitz, which, if you've been watching me for very long, is one of my favorite ways to add a little extra pizzazz to the inside of my cards. And it does take a little longer to dry, but it's well worth it. Next, we're going to use the Deco Bloom dies here. There are several layering dies here, and I die cut the two largest dies to create this beautiful frame with some red cardstock. We're going to adhere that directly to the card base, and I did learn the hard way when I first started using this die that you do need to put some glue on the farthest out edge, or it just gets caught on the edge of your envelope every time you try to put it in your envelope. Trust me, just glue the edge. And maybe you already have this die set in your stash. Wouldn't that be awesome? We have to remember to use what's in our stash to help dress up our cards and enjoy the process. Next, I took this pattern paper that has the neighborhood of houses, and I cut that down to a size that fits right in this frame. And I did add a layer of cardstock behind that. Again, we're going to use the Argyle socks, and this is going to frame up our ephemera again. I'm going to add this directly to the card base, no extra cardstock behind this one. And because it's such a well embossed thing, I did use my Misty for a little extra weight. When I cut this white cardstock down, I cut it to be just a sliver bigger than this red ephemera piece because I wanted it to have just a tiny bit of a frame around it. And then I'm going to add this really pretty snow globe with the car. We're going to add the sentiment. We're going to use the believe, which I'm going to put above our little snow globe. And don't use your pokey reverse tweezer. You can cause a little damage to your puffy stickers, which I did damage that bee just a little bit. I poked it so a little tiny bit of white shows, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm still going to use it. And you can stretch these a little bit, shape them a little bit so that they are curving around. I thought about curving them around this snow globe, but decided against it. Going to add that little tittle at the top of our eye. And this card says, let me grab it from my stack. Believe in the magic of the season. All hearts come home for Christmas. Now I need to add a few more of these beautiful gold puffy stickers, snowflakes. There's stars, there's sparkles, and some snowflakes. So much cuteness. I'm just going to poke out the insides of this snowflake before I adhere that down. I had so much fun creating with this, and I was so excited when I saw that they included 5x7 card bases because that's totally my jam. If I had to pick my favorite card size, I would say it's the 5x7. It's the size that you would expect to get from a commercial card. It makes it big enough so that you can put 4x6 photos in your envelope. And my mom really enjoys getting photos in the mail. And if you've ever sent Christmas cards with a photo of your family, it's nice to be able to have a card that's a little bigger than the photo you're going to send. And honestly, you could put a 4x6 photo on the front of your 5x7 card and it would match perfectly. I'm just adding some gold sequins here in addition to those snowflakes. I think that adds a lot to the card. On the inside of our card, we're going to use the largest of these sentiments, and it reads, "May the holiday season fill your home with joy, your heart with love, and your life with peace." I, of course, am going to stamp that twice so I get a nice bold impression, but you don't want to push very hard because those very fine detail stamps, if you push too hard, they will squish and distort the image. We're going to add some of these snowflakes. I stamp, clean my stamp, move it, and stamp again, and I do this a total of 3 times, so we have 3 different locations for the snowflake. I really like the touch that adds. They are just that perfect little element that elevates the inside of our card. That is card number 2. I really like this card. Do you? For card number 3, we're going to use this really bold floral pattern paper. I'm going to cut it in half at 3 inches, and we're going to adhere it to some cardstock that's, yes, this one is 5x7. Just going to use my Barely Art Precision Glue to adhere this down, and you don't have to be super careful. We are going to die cut this down a little bit, but it's nice to have it even at least on the card. This pattern is not linear in any way, so even if it is a little crooked, you're not going to mess up your pattern. Next, we're going to die cut this with one of the outer frames. It could have been Deco foil, it could be, Deco Bloom or Wistful Windows. I just happened to still have those other 2 pieces taped together, so I used the Wistful Windows version. If you have either of those die sets, they have some really beautiful layering elements. Now I'm going to take this piece of red cardstock that's 2 inches by 5 inches, and we're going to use the Scenic Poinsettias 3D embossing folder. This is really a gorgeous embossing folder. Just going to run that through my die cut machine, and look at that impression. We're also going to use the Opal polish in Golden Flamingo. Now on black cardstock, this looks gold, and on white, it looks pink. we are going to end up with kind of a gold tone on the red, which kind of a rose gold, which is perfect. It looks so good. And this opal polish comes with its own applicator tool included in the packaging. And it's super clever. Now when I go to use this each time, I just spritz a little water on a flat, non-porous surface and pick that up with that sponge to re-moisten it. And then you just pick up your opal polish and glide it over lightly over your project. And look at that. I love how the raised image picked up that opal polish and just shimmers. That does not take long to dry, seconds probably. You aren't going to smear it with your hands. I am in love with this opal polish stuff. I'll have that linked in the description box below also. We are going to add a little black matting, and as you may remember when I was doing it, I did add some of this opal polish to the edges of the paper too. I wanted to add a little bit of gold edging to that. Next, we're going to use the Scalloped Symphony Notecard dies, and we're going to take the circles and we're going to die cut those from the gold mirror cardstock from the kit. This is a gorgeous medallion, mandala, however you want to think of it, image, and it has kind of a snowflake image to it if you would like, if you use your imagination a little bit there. And I am going to layer up that circle ephemera, and the circle size I need just happens to be the same size as the circle in the Glimmer Burst foil of the month. Glimmer of the month? There we go. From a couple of months ago. Dig through your stash. Again, use your things. I decided I needed a little vellum backing, so I used the solid outline for this detailed die and cut that out from the vellum, and now I'm lining up the edges and we have a perfectly vellum backed element. I did add a little bit of cardstock scraps behind the ephemera and this circle, and we're going to adhere that directly to our gold mandala, our gold detailed element here. And then I'm going to add a little bit, well actually first I'm going to trim off the extra on the side of this particular panel with the black and the red, because I had made those just a little longer. There's nothing worse than having your elements be too short, so it's better to make them a little too long and trim off the extra. Next, I cut out a piece of 5x7 cardstock. This is just some layering weight black cardstock, and lining that up, completely covering the front of our 5x7 card base, because I decided the white just didn't look right around the edges. So now we will add here our panel that we've been working on directly to that black cardstock panel. Next, we're going to add a little bit of cardstock scrap behind our circle element and adhere that to that belly band on the front of the card. I did feel that this needed a little more, so I pulled out these beautiful sparkly glittery gems, and I'm taking one of each size of the red ones and putting those on in a trail on the lower right hand side, and we'll trail a couple more up on the upper left hand side. And then I decided to add some gold sequins. I think the gold sequins will stand out better against this very bold, busy background, but maybe they don't. But I think they do add a little extra interest and keep your eye flowing across the front of this card, which is very pretty, especially if you like a busy card front. Next, we're going to work on the inside. Oh, I have just a couple more sequins to add here. I decided some need to be up on that belly band to include that in our flow across the page. And then on the inside, we're going to stamp that long greeting again with some more of these snowflakes. And there's a cluster of stars stamp image in that stamp set too, and we're going to use that. Now, since I used both snowflakes and the cluster of stars, I only have to do one set of inking to get our images complete. I don't have to stop and clean in between and move them around. So that is card number 3. Card number 4, we're going to take several scraps of cardstock. These are all 1.5 to 2 inches wide, and I think they're 6 inches long. Yes, because I had just trimmed them off of each of those 6x6 pattern papers, and I'm adhering them to a 6-inch by, I don't know, I think it's probably 8.5 inches. I think I just made it wide enough to carry the entire scrap, and then I'm covering it with these different cardstocks, pattern papers. And then we're going to be able to cut a panel from these. It's kind of like a scrap quilt, just showcasing lots of our different pattern papers. And because the pattern papers came in the same pad, they all naturally coordinate with each other. I cut those down to, I think I cut them down to 4.5 by 6.5. And then I took a die from the Scalloped facade frame. I think that's what that's called. That beautiful gold filicreed die cut piece was from that. We're going to adhere the black matting panel for our quilt backing, quilt panel, and we're going to adhere that down, and then we'll adhere the pattern paper strip panel or quilt panel that I created. And then we have this gorgeous gold foil, and I'm going to add a little bit of extra cardstock behind that for a little extra height. I just line that up and trim it off. I save all these scraps that I cut off of things, or things that I messed up and didn't want to use, and I use them to add extra layers behind my project pieces. Just going to add those, and we'll center this up on the center of our card. It's very bold, this gold. I did debate if I was going to use gold or white or red or black. All of those I think could have worked very well. There's some gold foil in all of those elements that we're going to use, and I thought that would tie in nicely. Now I have a piece of shimmery white cardstock that I cut down to fit inside this frame, and then I embossed it with the Scenic Poinsettia 3D embossing folder again. And I've taken all of these ephemera and added the extra pieces of cardstock behind them, and I have my piece of press and seal holding the grouping together the way I had them envisioned. And then I will just carefully peel that off because I have the adhesive behind all of them, and that will hopefully set up and stay stuck behind there, even though I was pulling on the press and seal. Seems to have worked out well. More of these gold puffy snowflakes are going onto our card. I think they just add the best finishing touches here. And because there are so many different sentiments on these different ephemera pieces, I wasn't sure I was going to use a sentiment piece. I do eventually go find one, but initially I wasn't sure I was going to. We have 4 snowflakes that we're adding to this, and I'm starting to run out of the smallest ones. I'm going to have to start using the stars here soon too. I do decide to add a few more of the gold sequins. They have 2 sizes. There's a large and a medium size. There isn't a tiny size, but that's okay. These fit in here beautifully. Just fussing with placement. I had asked on a previous video if you all wanted me to keep including the filming of the sequin placement and adhering, and apparently you guys enjoy that, so I'll keep leaving it in there. It really helps when you share with me what you like to see and what you don't like to see, because then I can make adjustments. I did find a season's greeting ephemera piece and add that. And then on the inside, we are going to add Merry Christmas. And then the second part is the To You and Yours. And we are going to use the Cluster of Stars stamp twice on this to create the sentiment and embellishment on the inside of our card. I have really enjoyed the stamp sets with all of those beautiful sentiments that have been included in kits lately. And this kit is not a subscription kit. This is something you can just go purchase, but it's limited edition. Okay, now this is one of my favorite cards that I made in this grouping. I think it turned out so cute. I trimmed this down to 4.5 by 6.5. That's what that cardstock piece is that I'm going to adhere this to, because we're going to do some layering here. Now, I realize that this is not quite long enough to cover the entire panel. I am going to use a piece of that craft colored cardstock to add a floor. We're building our beautiful little scene here, and I'm figuring out about how long a piece or how wide a piece I need to create the floor. So I'm using my grid mat here to determine that I needed about 3 inches, and we'll trim that down to 3 by 5 inches, I believe. And then we're going to use this Dimensional Diamonds embossing folder. This is another one that just came out this month, and I'm going to line it up with one of the diagonal lines because I want those lines to be parallel instead of diagonal to make this look like a fancy wood floor. I'm going to add a little piece of white cardstock here as a baseboard to add a little definition between the floor and the wallpaper. That's some pretty bold wallpaper, but it's really cute. This card turns out so cute. I just love it. Who wouldn't love an evening in your armchair with some books? And especially in the Christmas season, sometimes we just need to slow down and take a breath, especially all of us moms and grandmas out there. I'm going to adhere the floor piece right below that, trying to make sure I get it nice and straight. Going to use my little guillotine trimmer to trim that off. And then I realized there's a little bit of unevenness on the other side, so I'm just going to shave a sliver off the other side. That's one of the things I love about a guillotine trimmer. It's always going to give you this beautiful, crisp, clean cut. Another piece of black cardstock to mat behind our main element. I personally had found some really inexpensive black cardstock and stocked up on it for layering things. Layering and doing some different techniques on it. Black cardstock can be a little hard to come by, and I don't need it to do anything more than be a solid color. So it didn't matter the quality of the cardstock. Next, we're going to take this cute little ephemera piece that says home for the holidays, and we're going to treat this like a home decor painting or framed art on the wall. So I have another piece of craft cardstock, and I'm trimming that down to frame up our little home element. Next, I'll take a piece of scrap cardstock, trim that so it's a little smaller than our ephemera piece, and adhere that between the ephemera piece and the frame piece. Give that a little extra dimension. I do add a little extra cardstock behind the entire element also to pop that up off of our wallpaper. Next, we have our easy chair, and I decided to add a tree behind it. We're going to set that right down against the brown so it looks like it's sitting on the floor. We'll adhere our framed artwork, and we'll adhere our little easy chair, letting that overlap a little bit over the tree and the stack of books next to our chair. That looks like a beautiful evening to me. Next, we're going to pull out some of our stickers. We're going to use these glitter foam stickers, and we're going to spell out the word cozy because I want this to say Cozy Christmas Wishes with all of these puffy stickers. Now, I'm not pushing these down hard yet. I'm just setting them on the cardstock so I can get the alignment right and get my spacing right because I want to make sure everything's going to fit on this card front. That's one of the nice things about the 5x7 cards. They give you a bigger canvas to work with. You have a little more space and you can do a little more things and you can space things out a little better. That being said, I almost didn't get this fit onto my card. When I was making the floor part of this, I actually started to think that 3 inches was too big, but it's not. This was actually just perfect. I just managed to get everything to fit. I pulled off our wishes and stuck that down, and now I can get the final placement of all of the rest. I used that Christmas to kind of ground the cozy, just adding all of those, giving them a good solid push, and then I'm going to add the tittle to the wishes, and believe it or not, I didn't put any sequins or any of the gold puffy stickers on this card. Inside, we're going to have it say, "Thinking of you this holiday season." And I do add a couple of those cute little gold snowflakes again. But since I used one of each size, again, can just stamp it once. And that is all of card number 5. And then we have my other favorite card from this grouping. I'm going to take a piece of cardstock. This is a 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece of white cardstock. I'm scoring it at 1/2 inch and 1 inch intervals all the way across the card because I want to make some wood looking, like wood panel or wood sign looking thing image here. I'm taking some bundled sage distress oxide and I am applying this directly to the cardstock. I want those white score lines to show up. And then I'm going to take, okay, I apologize, this 3D embossing folder does not come out until October. I was thinking it came out in September. It does not. It is so beautiful though. Add this to your wish list right now. You're going to have it. I know I had to. And I couldn't wait to use it. And this just is, oh, so much fun, this technique. So I'm going to apply some white ink to the raised portions. So our snowflakes are going to stand out a little bit on this background. This is such a fun technique. Now, since I am using the Sea Salt Hero Arts Reactive ink, I do go over this 2 or 3 times over each area because it's a more subtle color white ink than, say, Hero Arts Unicorn or the Atelier Sharktooth. There are lots of white ink options you could use. Next, I am taking some circle elements. This is a 4-inch circle that I die cut with a circle die from my stash. I also die cut and embossed another circle that's slightly smaller. I think this is 3 3/4 inch circle. I do have layers of cardstock scrap on those, and I am having the edge of the circle extend past this layer, and I'm trimming off the edge. Next, I am going to adhere that gorgeous embossed and inked background that we created right to our card base. And again, this is a 5x7 card base. And then we'll adhere this circle to the upper, it's more towards the upper part of this card. For once, I'm not centering things. I had started to want to do a rectangle in the middle, but I decided a circle would be more appropriate. And just to shake things up a little bit because I am way too often centering everything right in the middle of my card. Got to break up that pattern sometimes. I'm also using more ephemera from the kit. We've got a couple of different candy cane pieces here, and I, again, put cardstock scraps behind the backs of these for a little extra dimension and stability. I love that wood slice with the heart in the center with that gold foil accent. We're going to layer those on top of our peppermint candy, our candy canes. And the inspiration for this entire card is this row of adorable little Christmas mugs. I love that they have these cute little Christmas motifs on the cups, and cocoa is just, it's such a Christmas type thing for me. We're going to add a little extra dimension behind this to make it even with all the other things, and adhering that with a little extra glue just to make sure it sticks very well. We're going to take the Cheer puffy sticker that has a green tone to it that matches our ink blended area perfectly. I did carefully match that color to the mug in the middle. When I was picking an ink color, I actually took my sticker over to my rack of ink pads to pick a color. We're going to add some more of those gold puffy snowflake elements. Again, adding a little bit of glue behind these stickers to make sure they stick very well. Now, I didn't find I needed any extra glue behind the colored puffy stickers, like the Sending Holiday and the Cheer. Those came off of the same sheet, and they seemed to be sticky enough without any extra help. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that they're extra flexible. I don't know, but they worked out great. Adding some gold sequins, and I start out just doing a couple, and then I decide I want a few more. We're going to put these all on the white circle, just scattering them about. And yes, I fuss with my sequin placement just a little bit here. I decide I want a smaller sequin there, and then I'm going to take one of the smaller sequins and add it in one more spot after I get all of these adhered. And that finishes the front of the card. And inside the card, there's actually one sentiment that says warmest wishes. And I did think about putting that on the front of the card. It would have worked. But I add it to the inside, and I add that long sentiment. So it says warmest wishes. May the holiday season fill your home with joy, your heart with love, and your life with peace. I do add some of the ephemera snowflakes from the kit also, and I, instead of stamping them, so we have these pretty foiled pretty foiled snowflakes on the inside. That was the last card that I created for this video. Here's a recap of all of the cards that I created with this kit so far, because I can guarantee you I will make lots more. Please let me know in that comments below which of these cards you enjoyed the most. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment to do that now. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you're interested in any of the products I used today, check that description box below. Until next time, bye-bye.